I wanna be the best in the game, invest in my name. Check no restraints, I'm obsessed with the pain. I ingest, I retain, assess and I change. Possessed by the thought I'll be free one day from society's restraints. Money, clout and fame, mud, disease, a plague. We all love to hate, have to play the game, have to make a name. All our insecurities are on display. This is war with the enemy, think that it was meant to be. Living in a time where disease is on every screen. I won't let them fester me, I know most are festering. Negativity is a plague for the mentally weak. No mercy, all I got is working. Never stop searching, never quench the thirsty. I'm toxic and psychotic with this logic, you can't stop it. It's been chronic since I was a boy, so neurotic and chaotic.
I'm built to last with the webs I'm weaving. I could change the past with all I'm achieving. Got my foot on gas, never stop coming.
Alrighty, welcome everybody. Hopefully you guys can hear me over the music. Got a little slight background music. Hopefully it's not too loud. If the music's too loud, let me know, and I'll lower it a little bit. Add some ambience there. We'll just put it low in the back. I don't know if you guys can hear it or not, but so I'm going to be inking, and I apologize that right here the image is upside down. I know the image is upside down. It was supposed to be, see, if I flip it upside down, you guys can see what I'm working on. This is Dave Finch was nice enough, and he did my cover for me when I decided that I want to create my own book called Dragonrage. And Dave was nice enough, and he said, "Hey, I'm gonna do a cover for you, help you, promote your book, get your book out there." And he gave me the original art, and I have the original put away. But I love Dave's pencil so much that I want to keep at least one of his pencils in a pencil format. So I decided that I'm going to ink this one over blue line, although I have the original. Maybe I could show you guys some point. I'll take it out. But here it is. I started inking with the crow quill just to stay conditioned right now. I am inking Dave. I do ink Dave professionally, and we do work together from time to time. So you will see my inks over Dave's work from time to time and stuff like that whenever he needs an inker. So I want to stay conditioned, and I figured what's the best way to do it rather than just inking something that I wasn't going to use. I thought what was kind of cool is to ink something that I could end up using. I could end up offering this on the next campaign, or I could maybe use it, get it recolored or something, because I never inked it traditionally. I just inked it digitally a while back. So if you guys are wondering, I'm going to be using a 102 crow quill. I use a lot of different nibs. There is a crow quill, and there is a hawk quill, which is stiffer. It's a 107 made by Hunt or Speedball. I don't use the hawk quill. I just use the crow quill, and then I use many other nibs too. So you'll see me kind of switching around. I'm using India ink. I use Kohinoor India ink, in case you guys are wondering what I'll be using. And so I'm going to be inking right here on this little spot, putting some lines in there. Let's see if I can get you guys a better look. All right. So I'm going to be throwing some lines right over here. Let me clean out my nib. You guys can see in the other camera view, there's a I use an old pair of jeans. It's an old Wildstorm trick. Some of the guys, Wildstorm, it's the inkers that I hung out with. That's who I watched ink, taught me how to ink. Well, I just observed and really learned myself. So it's just a matter of warming up, getting the old inking arm, getting it going, the old pitching arm. Just got to warm up. Takes a minute or two, but you know, you loosen up, you start getting in the rhythm. Really no other way than to just start inking. I just start inking, and then I'll start warming up, you know, start getting in rhythm. Takes a little bit. I like to start in little areas where if I make a mistake, it's not too obvious. Or if in the morning when I first start, if my line isn't too clean or it's slightly off a little bit, it won't be too obvious. And then before you know it, you really don't forget how to ink. You know, it's all muscle memory. The fear that you've forgotten how to ink makes it a little hard, you know, to get nervous. But you just got to remember to breathe and forget about all the things in the world and just ink away, you know. Inking is therapy. It's an art form. So you cannot forget that you are drawing with pen and ink. It's not so much traced by numbers. It isn't quite so much tracing. To be completely honest, you trace a little bit, but you're not really tracing all that much. You know, you're really aiding the drawing. You're really completing it. And it takes a little while to get used to what the nib can do, what you can do with it. But if you stick with it, you'll eventually become its master and not its servant. You know, we all start out as a servant to the nib. You know, but like anything else, man, you just keep going, and you'll get to the point where you really speak its language. You understand it. These are classic tools, and they're a great way to ink with lines that have life and personality, because, you know, I enjoy inking digital. I ink digital. But digital, you throw down, every line you throw down with digital is a dead line. No personality. It's a perfect line. It's just a perfect line, and there's no life to it, you know. There's personality, energy in a line that you throw by hand traditionally that is not perfect. There's beauty in it, you know. Just something that digital cannot recreate yet, you know. So Comic book says, why India ink instead of China ink? You know, I like the India ink and the fact that it has a low reflection. It doesn't really reflect that well, but the reason that I use it is because it dries really nice solid black. So I use Kohinoor. This is the ink, Kohinoor ink. Oh, I have my let me flip. I have my thing mirrored. Sorry. Let's come back to. You guys will see me really big real quick. That's me. Say hello. And let's see if I can bring back that camera without it being flipped. There we go. There it is. All right. Now, if I show you the Kohinoor ink, you can see it so much better. Kohinoor ink, black India ink, it dries really nice, solid black. It's also archival. It'll retain and keep this really nice, deep black to it. It also flows through the quills and the nibs really well. A China ink, like a Sumi ink or something, is a bit more watered down, a little thinner. And when you spread it across, it's thinner. And when you ink traditionally, I'm inking over original pencils. So when I erase like this, and I go through and I erase, some of the you erase some of the ink because the ink sits on top of the graphite that's sitting on top of the fiber of the Bristol of the paper. So when you erase some of the pencils underneath, you actually are removing some of that ink that didn't soak through completely. And so whenever I use some like Sumi ink, or the Japanese ink, all the other type of inks, they can kind of like squid ink or whatever it's made from, can lift up easier. This India ink seems to do pretty well, so I like it. I think it's a really good ink to be inking with. The Great Order of the Nib, yeah, that's right, man. It's a tough thing. There's still something wrong with digital. Even the best inkers can't make it look as good as the old school traditional. Yeah, I like traditional a lot. I started traditional. I really appreciate it. I'm really one of those that is trying to push digital. I have created brushes for digital to try to, did I ink over let me zoom out a little bit, to try to recreate digital. I'm trying to make digital look as traditional as I can, because digital is fast. I can ink through stuff so quickly. Man, I can't get it to have life in it. I can't get it to have personality. It's so hard. I try my best, and I'm constantly having to focus on each line, try to keep it from being so perfect when I'm inking digital. I use it for my own work because it's fast. I can ink myself really quick and get through pages pretty fast. But if I were to ink, like Dave Finch, digital every single time, then I would be losing out of original art, and with someone like Dave, where oftentimes we're getting to work on characters that have huge fan base, and when we do, there was a market for original art, and he's got a fan base, and people enjoy my inks, so there are people that'll buy my ink work, to have an original piece. So, and then of course it just depends on what character we're working on how well that original will sell and what that original will sell for. What the original piece is and stuff like that. It's a lot of things to factor in, So just because you're doing traditional art doesn't mean you're going to sell every piece, So when I do my book, Dragonrage, I don't have a fan base yet. I mean, I do. It's a small fan base right now. So I'm able to. I just do digital so I can get through, and keep on schedule. I put a little smear on the side right there. So when you get little smears like that, you can either use whiteout, or you can take a scratch blade like this, right? And let's see if I'm on camera here. Where is it? Right there, that little stain. So you can tilt sideways. You can start to try to scrape it off a little bit. Try to stay flat so that you just take off the surface of the board. If you can. Sometimes you can just take a kneaded rubber eraser and just kind of erase it out. Gets rid of some of the ink on top, so you can see now like it's real light. And then now I just go over it with a little bit of whiteout, and nobody will know. Or I can just take the scratch blade and scratch off the rest of it. Staying pretty soft with it, just kind of scraping away at it. Loosening up some of the fibers and some of the black India ink, and then you just take your kneaded rubber eraser again, kind of polish it. And then you can just use a little bit of whiteout, and then it's gone. Nobody knows that little smear of ink will be there. I can put some whiteout on it. Now I wouldn't have to put such a thick whiteout. I just put a little light coat, and you won't even see it. Trust me, we'll do that in a little bit. I'll show you guys that. So I've tried really hard to figure out how to flip this image. I bought a couple of webcam software, and none of them flip the image. I was like, man, there goes $20, And then, not to mention, the stream was late with the stream because I'm there trying to figure out how to flip it. And the software that could flip it, that I could stream in, kept having trouble with it. It just kept crashing, and I couldn't highlight the chat. And it was give and take, I had to figure out. So I came back to this app. Only problem is I can't get this image to flip. So eventually I'll get this image flipped and we'll be able to see. I'm going to ink the rest of the sword right here and throw some lines right there. We call it throwing lines, because you really do. You're just kind of going real fast with the line, And then you can shape and sculpt that line. And you just kind of clean it up, shape it a little bit. Dave draws the swords very organic. You know, it metal is an element, so is stone and rock, and he's using a very stone-like edge and style to it, where it looks more like it's cracked stone. And so I'm trying to stay with that. It's really become his style, you know. It's a really neat style. I mean, you could change it up and make it look more like metal, but then, you know, you got to keep in mind that when you're inking somebody else's work, it's their work. It's their, you know, you have to stay true to their vision. And then, you know, you got to be aware of what you're inking and really trying to help to complete the artwork, you know. And it's the things that I enjoy, because I love the fact that whenever you ink something, all the work as far as the perspective, composition, the anatomy, all that stuff's already completed. And so you can come in and really just add textures, style to it. You can really, you know, you get to come in and finish the work and focus on the line work. You can put in beautiful lines that can help add depth and dimension to the work. You can add clarity to the art. You can add flair, style, all that kind of stuff, you know. And of course, all of that is, that's just the finishing touches, you know. What you want to do is always keep in mind and stay true to the vision, you know. It's true to the art. You want to make sure you're not shifting lines too much. Be aware of the way that the lines curve and bend and how long and how far lines go out that your pencilers put down. Shifting any one line can really alter the structure. You can flatten out an area and see. So if something's like curved and round, you got to make sure you're inking it curved and round when you're coming in and finishing up the rendering. If things are supposed to be mechanical, make sure then you're inking them with flat lines, keep them mechanical looking. But somebody like Dave, who does a lot of everything's organic, there's really very little mechanical lines, very little room for a dead line. You know, a dead line is just kind of like a flat line with no energy, no life. There's very little room for that with his style. So I'm just trying to stay conditioned. I figured I'll ink this. I could probably end up using it again. I'll probably get it recolored and maybe use it again with these inks, all for the original in the campaign. Somebody can buy it. And just trying to stay conditioned, because I'll be doing some inks. And, you know, I jump back and forth. I do some ink work and, you know, freelance some inks, and then get back on my book, Dragonrage, and squeeze in, you know, inks in between. Because I love inking Dave Finch. You know, his work is it's fun to ink. Let me see if what you guys are saying. Try to take off my glasses again. All right, here we go. Let's see. Let me say hi to you guys. Rachel Brinkley says metal can also be alloy. Yeah, that's true. There's different types of heavy metals that are out there with different type of structure and density and different atoms and molecules and, all kinds of different little things. Let me flip this upside down real quick so you guys can kind of get a better idea of what it is that I'm inking right there while I chat with you guys. Rufus says, nice work. Do you still commission ink comic books for studios, or do you only focus on your own title? Another random question, what's your favorite food? Yeah, I still freelance inks for other studios and companies. So you'll still see me inking over people. That's more of like a day job. And right now I'm doing a kind of like a Kickstarter where I'm crowdfunding my own book, and it's rough. It's tough starting up. There's so many expenses, and so many unforeseen expenses, especially doing a book right now where the cost of paper doubled when I from the time that I started to the time I went to print. Shipping went up. Cost went up July 1st. So, shipping through the USPS, the shipping rates went up. So when I went to fulfill, the shipping costs and everything went up, things like that. There's a lot of unexpected expenses. And then there's, of course, the expenses in itself starting up. So it's starting small and humble. Eventually I get to the point where I can make money doing it. But in the meantime, right now, I got to ink and I ink for other people. And so you will see me inking over another big name artist and on a very popular title. So you'll get to see some of that. I'll keep you guys up to date when I get further along with that. And but I honestly two things. Like one, I mean, I love having my own book. I love having Dragonrage. But honestly, I will never turn down the opportunity to ink over Dave. Dave Finch's work. I love it. He's a good friend. But not only that, he's my favorite artist, and so I love inking his work and working with him. So I could be happy just doing that. If I could do that full time, I would be doing that full time. I love it. If I couldn't do that full time, then the second thing I want to be doing is my own book, Dragonrage. So right now, fortunately, I get to do both, and the two things that I love. I have the time to do them both in there. And so right now, I'm just staying conditioned to get ready to ink another. I'm getting ready to ink another piece professionally for publication for a big company, and I'll don't want to say too much about it right now, but I will eventually share more about that later. Favorite food, man, that's a good question. Honestly, I love so much when it comes to foods. But mine is Chinese. Anything Chinese, anything Asian, I will eat. And you don't have to sell me on any Chinese food. You just say, we're gonna eat Chinese, and I go, yeah. When Dave came to my town for a convention, we hung out after the convention, and I asked him, like, what do you want to eat, man? Let's go eat. He because I thought we were taking him out, but it turned out he was taking us out to eat. He was treating us out to eat, and he goes, Mexican. It has to be Mexican food, and that's my least favorite food is Mexican food. But for him, being in Canada, he doesn't really get to eat Mexican food. where I live in Texas, and we have a taco stand on every corner, every street. So for me, I was like, Mexican food, all right. But then we went to the place we went to. It was really good. It was really good. I enjoyed it. But I still do commissions for people that need, anything, big or small, doesn't matter. So I still like the 102. I like the fact the 102 will let me get in and get some really cool little bitty lines where in the past when you would ink really little lines, they couldn't reproduce, couldn't print them, but now you can. So I think now is the time, to really get in there with the 102 and get some really cool, which is weird because, we're in a time now where you can reproduce tiny little bitty lines, and a lot of inkers are going back to the brush. People like to just change, for the trend or the style and just go with the style rather than going with the technology. It's like, why not ink these fine little lines with a quill when the printing process is finally catching up? Why not do that? I use brush too. Really more of a quill inker. I just like it. You see, do I need to zoom out more? I keep moving the thing down, so hopefully you guys can see it. So I just clean out my quill. So you can see the quill right there. You can see where with the quill right behind it, you can see a little hole in it. So what it does is it opens like this, it scissors, and it allows the ink to flow that's sitting on the quill. So you can really only ink in one direction, and you learn to throw your line, and you learn how much ink you can put on the quill. Everyone's different, so the general rule is you want to put dip it in ink up to a quarter of the way, like halfway through that little hole in it. So you want the ink to go about halfway, dip it into the ink, your bottle ink, about right there, about halfway to where that hole is. But once you start getting real comfortable with it, you know how much ink you need to flow out of your quill when you throw a particular line. Then it's up to you how deep you want to put it. Because the less ink on the quill, shorter the line you can throw, and the more often you will need to dip your quill. You can't ink without ink, makes sense, right? So the other thing too is when I'm inking, especially over somebody like Dave. Like Dave's a big fan. We share all. I think his work really appeals to me because we have so many. Not every. We don't share every influence, but we have so many of the same influences. That we like the same kind of artists. So it makes it easier. I'm very familiar with this style, but the other thing that I try to keep in mind when I'm inking somebody like Dave, being that he's a big Bernie Wrightson fan too, is that the values in the line work. So it isn't just black and white. We go, oh, there's no color to this. It's just black and white art. Well, it's not necessarily true. There's a lot of values in this piece. And this is called reverse inking, by the way. It's a good example what I'm doing right now. You can see there where I am inking right there. And you see how I'm inking around and I'm leaving the white. That's called reverse inking. So I'm inking like as if it's a negative. So there's a lot of values in the artwork. And just like in graphite, where in graphite you can easily just lighten up on the pencil to create different values, different levels of shading, light and dark, right? You only have black ink. So how do you recreate different values? You have to use a series of lines, and that's your line art. So you keep in mind when you have to add in rendering and lines to kind of create a little bit of a value to separate some of the heavier shadows, some of the dark solid shadows from, sorry, I'm hitting the camera. Some of your darker shadow, and some of your like hard shadows from some of the lighter shadows, and you're trying to separate them. And so you can see where Dave's already using a series of lines to do that. Like underneath the dragon wing, there's a shadow underneath it, but it's not completely solid black. It's rendered. It's a series of lines, like this. It's got lines. And then you can see where it goes into a hard shadow right there. And then there's a dark black. So there are other little areas around her where I've helped do that. So this right here, the light, it just lightens up right here and it's about to go into the highlight right on her breast. So right as you're about to hit that, you just render that line, but then I still keep his heavy hard shadows that he's got in there. And just little bits and pieces that I'll do throughout the line work that help shape everything, and it helps add, help the values and separate things so that it's not quite such a hard cut between highlight and shadows like you see in Mike Mignola or Frank Miller. So you really want to be mindful of that kind of stuff where you can really help and aid that. And that's just, training your eye and trying to improve your own art as well. I've been working on my own penciling my book, Dragonrage, that it's really is very symbiotic where because I've improved my own pencils and rendering, it's really helped train my eye. So when I ink, I really understand the language, and I can really help, help Dave out when I'm coming in and inking. And then when you ink, you're inking in stages, different levels. You have to apply like level 1, and then come back and do, cleanup, finishes, then white out. Then you can polish stuff up along, later at the end of it. So the thing, that I have to really keep in mind and see is the shape of her brow. You know what? Maybe move me over. Where is it? Trying to move me over. There's another layout Oh, I guess they got rid of it. Where I used to be able to move me over. I guess they just move it where I'm right in the center now. That'll be right where I'm inking a lot. I was trying to move me away a little bit. They used to have one where I could be on the other side. But I guess I'll just be there and move the camera a little bit. There you go. That way I don't block so much with my head on there. So like the shapes of her breast, they're kind of a cylinder shapes. You need to make sure all the rendering and the lines that we're doing are gonna, bend and contour to it. Her clothing, he's got it where, it's very kind of loose. A lot of little folds in these little lines. And then, of course, the more I ink somebody, the more, I begin to speak their language and understand, and it gets easier. So the more and more I go through and I work with somebody, the more it's easier to harmonize with them, What's really tough is inking over blue line right now. All the little subtleties that I use to help really finish the artwork are gone because of the fact that all the hue is one tone. It's all non-photo blue. So I can't pick up those different values that you see in the graphite that we were speaking of earlier. And those are really help me when I come in and really, recreate the value with line art. So I lose some of that, but the plus side is it also really helps train my ability to just really, I guess I hyper focus a little more when it's in non-photo blue. I'm trying to look for those little subtleties in there. And I'm much more mindful of what's going on in the artwork that I try to, be aware of it. So I focus, I guess. So I guess there's that. It helps. But if you ever get to ink over pencils in the originals, you'll see the difference. And a way to get really good inking and to really help improve your own artwork is to work over as professional an artist, as a skilled artist. It'll help you out a whole lot because they've learned to shorthand some things, and they've learned to interpret some things very, very well. You can learn by working over somebody on how they render hair or how they render fabric just by studying that artist. And when I ink them, I'm really, focused on what they've done. And it trains my hand and eye because I go right over what they've done. So I've learned a lot just by inking people. I was a comic book inker since 1994. I didn't work consistently in comics. I was in web development. I was a graphic designer full time, but I would always stay near comic books. And inking allowed me to do that. Inking allowed me to, live both worlds. or I could hold down a full-time job that had benefits, raising a family, and still not lose my sanity because I was still able to do what I love to do, which is inking. But my dream job is always whenever I get to ink Dave, you know. I wish that he needed an inker full time. That would be amazing, you know. It's where I'm most happy. But the plus side, like I said, plus side, silver lining, I guess, is that I get to do my own book and really show people what I can do. Because no one was giving me a chance, you know. People just thought of me as an inker and didn't really give me the opportunity to pencil, you know. And it's still the case. I still, you know, I don't have any open doors where people look, you know, and go, oh yeah, you know, this guy can also draw, you know, here, draw something for us. So I had to make my own, you know. And now that I got Dragonrage, I can show people what I can actually do, you know. But I guess, you know, it sounds like complaining. I shouldn't complain because I love inking so much, you know, to be honest. Like I said, if I could, if Dave needed an inker full time, I'd really be happy, you know, if that was me, you know, that got to ink him, you know. And if not, the other thing I want to be doing is, you know, drawing Dragonrage. It's a lot of fun. I love drawing, you know, the characters and drawing the dragons. And I think because I really am enjoying myself, I think people pick up on that, you know, that I really enjoy the characters and having fun. And I think it reflects in my work. I think people can see that. So where I'm inking, I know that sorry, the picture gets over me, but right here, there's going to be a gradation. Like, so I'm inking, right? See if it'll focus there, because I'm moving. Oops. So there's a lines that Dave did, and there's a gradation that goes up. So what I've got to do is really get in there and really try to help that gradation, because what it is it's the pectoral muscle of the dragon, which is curving into shadow. And because the pectoral muscle isn't a flat muscle, there's a curvature to it. The light's going to bend differently. It's going to reflect differently off of it. So the gradation that I'm going to put on there really has to reflect that. I got to let some of that ink dry. I was throwing down some of the lines there. So I'll just keep going here around her hand, and we'll go back to that in a minute. So the better you are as an artist, the better you can be as an inker too. You know, especially if you learn to master your tools. because if you're not that good as an artist and you're a good inker, you could add pretty lines, stuff like that. But there's only so much you can fix in your art in the inks. So you have to have a good foundation. You really have to be a good penciler, a good artist. And, you know, you can't just assume, oh, the inks are going to fix it for me. Because I used to think that too. I used to think when I first started out, I was penciling. I broke in as a penciler. Immediately switched to inking, but I did, you know, do some pencil work. And thought, oh, the inker will just fix this. Which is not completely accurate. You know, there's only so much you can fix in the inks. So if you're solely relying on the inker to just fix it all, that, you know, you're going to be disappointed. You know, it's really limited on how much you can correct, but you can make it look really pretty and interesting. And that does, you know, make it visually stimulating, but it doesn't improve the art, doesn't improve the perspective or the anatomy. That stuff is off. And it's, you know, and it's off. My cuticle here is getting dry. It was kind of bugging me when I was holding the quill. So I put these little foam to help the grip. And they're pretty good to help. Because you tend to want to, ooh, I made it bleed. You tend to want to hold the quill really, look at that, made my little finger bleed. You tend to want to hold the quill really tightly when you're first inking, because you're trying to get control of the quill, and you're insecure. You know, anytime you don't feel control, you tighten your grip. And inking takes a lot of relaxing. You got to really relax the hand, the grip. The lighter you are in your hand, the better. The lighter you are on the lines, and the more relaxed you are, the better. You'll throw more confident lines. You know, like in Star Wars, Obi-Wan Kenobi tells Luke Skywalker, "Let go, Luke. Use the Force." You know, sometimes you just have to let go. You gotta understand that, you know, you can't fight your quill if you're so tensed and trying to maintain control. And sometimes you got to relax and let the quill do its thing and kind of go with it, you know. Be like water, you know, like Bruce Lee. Bend with it. That kind of stuff. All right, let's go throw some lines. All right. Now, how do I undo this gradation? I have different quills that I use. Depending on how thick the line has to get. Sometimes I like to switch the quill up because the 102 will give me up to a certain thickness, and then I have to fill in the line. Sometimes I like to just kind of get through there. So I'm going to try to switch it up. And let's start at the top with a very light line. So I've got my gradation in there. Keeping in mind that the way that the breast shapes, it's kind of this shape, you know, it has this kind of cylinder. The peak of it at the top is where the light's hitting. So that's why it's white there, and that's right on the peak of the curvature. That's why the light hits there. So I got to keep in mind the gradation, and then as it's going into shadow, the line's got to get thicker and darker. But I can't put them too close together because then he's got another set of lines that come down to finish the gradation. So I just let that dry, work on another piece, and then I come back and I throw those lines. Do it in stages. Let some of the ink dry. Got a bunch of cool little lines that go in this rock shape. In here, we could throw a bunch of little cool, fun little lines. These are all kind of angular little lines. I can get through these pretty fast. You want to keep in mind the texture of whatever you're inking. You know, you want to keep in mind the way that the rock feels. And this is really weathered rock. Like this rock has been shaped and chiseled by a lot of water, a lot of wind, a lot of the elements. It's really cracked, dry. So you just keep in mind with all that stuff, you know. And the more like you visualize it in your head, the easier it is to really just recreate these lines. A lot of the lines are laid out for me, but if I can visualize it, keep it in my head, then I can even add to the effect in here on areas where they might not be. This is where it really makes a difference on how much ink I have on the quill. Not just so that I can go through and ink more ink, less stops I have to make, but if I'm inking really fine little lines, then it's easier if the quill has less ink on it. Because then less ink will flow, and as long as I'm throwing down really light pressure, then less ink comes out of the quill. And on some of these, I need to really put down some really fine lines. Oh, if anybody's watching and you backed Dragonrage and you did request the black and white version, a bunch of those went out today. So if you guys are waiting on the black and white copies, they're in the mail. Check your email. You should be getting a tracking number update from Indiegogo. Putting holy lines around where I'm going to fill in black. gotta clean my quill. I got fiber stuck on it. And what happens is if you get like a little fiber stuck in it, it holds the quill open and more ink will flow out than you want sometimes. So you got to clean it. You know, the quill is a vintage tool. It's an older tool. It's the ways of the masters, the ancient masters. And it takes years to master. So people want convenient, they want fast. But if you want really nice quality, there's just something about the way that these vintage tools work, the quill or the red sable and the Kolinsky sables, or there's just something that these new synthetic brushes just cannot recreate, you know, the same kind of feel to it. You know, Franklin Booth, you know, a lot of the classic American illustrators used a lot of these tools. And it's a technique that is getting lost, and I want to try to keep it alive as long as I can. You know, I'm somebody who knows how to ink with the quill, so why not? You know, I don't want to let it die. You know. A lot of people are looking for quick, fast, so they're going digital, so that you don't have to take years to learn to master. And they're willing to sacrifice original art. But original art is a great way to augment your income as an artist. As long as you're patient and willing to create the work. I'll come back to these gradation right here and just throw these lines. Just got to remember to breathe. And there goes our little gradation there of lines. And sometimes how you shape the line, how you throw the lines, helps the form and shape underneath. I mean, not sometimes, every time, but sometimes I don't exactly get them in the shape that I need. And that's when you can just use like whiteout and just kind of go along the edges and shape that contour. It's the final result that gets printed that it's okay to use whiteout, you know. I used to not want to use any whiteout at all. I still try to not use any whiteout when I don't have to, but it's okay to use it. It's the end result that is important. So this is the neck right here. This is the neck of the dragon that's right here. That what I'm inking. And in the neck of the dragon, Dave has drawn a lot of crinkly, wrinkled skin like you would see on a Komodo dragon, or you would see underneath it an iguana, where there's a lot of extra loose skin that folds, because the neck is an area that has a lot of movement, a lot of tendons, and so it has to be able to bend and move and stretch. So it has all this extra skin on it. So when I'm inking it, I have to be aware of all the different little lines that Dave has put for rendering that kind of indicate these bends and curves that are in this, a lot of this extra skin. So when I'm inking, right, I have to keep in mind that there's all these extra layer of skin that goes all the way through down here where I'm inking. So there's a lot of turning and moving the page so that I can keep all the lines. They will change shapes based on all those little crinkles. And then I want to add value to it. So I want like some gray in here as it starts to approach the solid black that where Dave has put. He's put solid black down here in shadow. So you got to keep in mind all this stuff. And I could go in and really add all these great values, textures, and just really great shapes to the artwork. You know, there's a lot of really cool stuff that Dave has done in this drawing. And if you really pay attention to all of it, and you're really looking for all those values, you know, and not rushing into to ink it, you know, taking your time to absorb all the detail in the line work, you can really bring that stuff out and accentuate all of those cool little intricate details, not just for the sake of filling in detail, but to really just bring it in to all aid the final illustration as a whole. You know, they really help bring this dragon's neck into life, where it just looks so cool because of all the cool folds and cool little creases and things like that, where you could just quickly fill it in black. And if you fill in and spot the large shapes too quickly, you can, you know, easily miss all those mid values, all those little values and stuff that are in there, and all the little details. So you can't rush through when you're inking. You got to be somebody who's pretty patient, and somebody who really enjoys the line work. You know, you just got to really enjoy it. You know, it takes a lot of patience. You know, you got to be somebody who really just, you know, somebody who just doesn't mind spending all these hours, you know, working on that. Let me see. Into Paints is here, man. Hey, appreciate you being here. Into Paints, you know, appreciate that. You know, shared some nice brushes with me and answered a lot of my coloring questions. I'm still trying to learn to color my own book, but I might end up giving up and just hiring a colorist, trying to get a colorist. Of course, if I do, I have to raise the funds for that. So I'd have to do another campaign, raise funds, get the book colored, and hire a colorist. I'm still trying my best to color it myself, but boy, coloring, it's a lot of work. You know, I like really saturated, vibrant colors, but I color in a style of that really tends to go with fantasy, where it's more of a watercolor look. And I'm kind of fighting that, where I think I should just go with what I'm doing naturally, do more of a watercolor kind of look that's more like a fantasy kind of style, because my book is fantasy. I should go with it, but I still like that superhero coloring that we see, really vibrant, you know, very saturated colors. But I don't know why. I keep John the Bigo Dad says hello, guys. And Cross Contour says, do you have any permanent hand tattoos from poking yourself with the quill? No, nothing that's permanent. I mean, I do poke myself with the quill. I have this little bin that holds all my ink. You can see my quills are all right there. So as I reach to grab it, I often poke myself like, oh, ow, you know. And you can kind of see it over here as well. I will poke myself way more than I want to be. So here's my little bin. Bin, B-I-N. I know I sound like I'm with my Texas accent. It's like I'm saying B-E-N-D, but I'm not. So here's more. I keep all the quills, little paste to shape your brush. All the boxes of the quills are up top. All the different tools. You can see I can rotate it. And there's different tools that are in there. And it's all in one little bin. I just keep it right next to me so that everything is within arm's reach. I use other little things. I guess I should have stayed full screen. I can show you guys. I use other little things. So I do often poke myself. I used to spill ink, but now I have this cool triangular ink jar that I buy that used to be a different brand. So this is a Winsor & Newton jar. You can see here that they're really nice triangle shape. This is an older one. You can see I have black in it. They're Winsor & Newton, and even in the whiteout of it, the Winsor & Newton, this used to be white ink. What I did was I buy my own ink. I bought the Kohinoor, like drawing ink, and I poured it in there. And that's what's in here. It's Kohinoor drawing ink. That's in this one. For whiteout, I didn't cap this all the way. I almost spilled that. And so for whiteout, whenever I do things to white out certain areas, I use Dr. Martin bleed proof. And that's what I'm going to use when I showed you earlier on the side of the paper where I did a little stain that was along the edges right here. I had got ink on my finger and I put a little little fingerprint. I use this to cover up really white stuff. When I want to use white with a quill, the Japanese deleter white works great with a quill. And I dilute it with water. I keep it real thin so that it flows off my quill really well. And then I just use that. And another ink that I would really recommend, and I don't even know I don't think they sell it anymore. I don't know if he went under. But you guys can look online to see if you can find Eon. Eon had the Vortex ink, which honestly felt like it was Kohinoor. It was like he took Kohinoor ink, poured it into his own bottle, and relabeled it. This works just like Kohinoor. He sent me out a bunch of them to sample, and they've been sitting. They're dusty because I had stopped inking for a while. Stopped inking traditionally, but that's an ink that I really enjoy as well. It's a really good ink. All right, so my inks are drying. I do stop a little bit here and there and kind of rotate. A lot of times I'll get up and stretch. So inking is good for me, because I often will get up and stretch when I'm inking as opposed to when I'm drawing. When I'm digital, I don't have to wait for ink to dry. So I just keep going and going and going. But that's not healthy, especially being I'm a heart failure patient, so I've got to remember to stand up. So usually when I'm letting the ink kind of just sit and dry a little bit, I'll get up and stretch my legs. So which will be something I'll be doing here in just a little bit. Oop, forgot these are reading glasses. I don't wear glasses, but I like to put on little magnifying glasses so I can see the really cool little details. And makes my traditional work, it's kind of what I liked about digital was that I could zoom in and do little details. So when I'm traditional, I put these little magnifying glasses on, little reading glasses that have very slight magnification on it. And I can put in really cool little details. And then to the naked eye, when you take it off and you look at it, you go, whoa, there's some little bitty details in there. And I put them in with these magnifying glasses. So if you guys are interested in using like the quill and learning, really, you have to really get in there and just do it. You have to ink. You have to train your eye for line work. And the more you do it, the more you'll start to train your eye into what type of lines you're going to put down to really add shape to things. So a lot of it too is just be aware of what you're inking. Try to, not rush through the inks. Punkface says, I'm trying, but the ink dries so fast on the nib, it breaks my flow. Depends on the type of ink you're using and the region you're in. If you are using a very thin ink, then the water could be evaporating from the ink very quickly. So that's why I like the Kohinoor India ink. Flows really well for my quill. And when I put it on paper, it'll dry fairly quick. But if I put these big blobs, which I like to put some of these blob effects with more ink, that takes a little longer to dry, and those are the ones I can smear with my hand. But yeah, you may want to try switching up your ink if it's drying too fast. That one that was pretty inexpensive used to be that Vortex ink from Eon, but I don't know if they're still around or not. I haven't heard from Brett in a while. That was the name of the owner, Brett. I think he might still be making Bristol boards, but I don't know. I haven't heard from him in a while, so yeah. He left Twitter, social media, and that was really how I communicated with him more often than anything. So. What's cool about the 102 is it allows you to shape lines. It has these cool, it's pointy, the line's pointy because it'll allow you to throw a line and then throw a second line, and it'll link back up with that first line. So it allows you to really just get some really interesting shapes. That's all artwork is. It's a series of lines that are strategically placed to create the illusion of an image. And that's all a drawing is. It's just a bunch of lines on a paper. When you stand back, you see an image from it. So by using that 102, you can really get in there and really create neat shapes to aid and help in the illustration. So I'm putting down these little tick lines that Dave has right here on this. And what they are is just to help the transition from a shadow to highlight. So you just got to keep them short, and you can stagger them in a nice gradation. Transition looks prettier. They don't have to be quite so pretty, but if you can organize them, it smooths out that transition, and it just seems to add more of like an HD look to it, just a little smoother. There's beauty in the line work where it's a little symmetrical, Then keeping your nib clean also going to help you with the flow of ink off your quill, by really trying to keep it all as clean as you can, so that way there's nothing clogging the flow of the ink or blocking it or anything like that. See, here's all the cool, fun little transitions and stuff that are in the artwork. I like to take my time and really, do some of my best work. Deadlines are important. It's the most important thing. So you can only go so slow. This is commercial art. It's got to be produced on a schedule. There's only so much time we can take on it. But the more familiar you become with the tool, and comfortable with it, the faster you get with it, more efficient you are with it. Dave's got these cool little shapes in these rocks, and changing up the angle makes it really interesting where you can cross, some lines are vertical, some are horizontal, and that helps add shape and value in the rock. So being aware of all that, all these cool shapes right here, that some go vertical, some go horizontal, and that adds interesting, shapes and tones. Some of them you space the lines out a little more, making them a little lighter gray. Some the lines are closer together to make it like a darker gray area where there's less light. All neat little stuff in here. But that's pretty much it for today. I'm getting hungry, so I gotta go eat. I gotta stretch on my legs, but thank you to you guys. Everybody's been watching. Hopefully there has been some helpful things to help you out. If you have any questions, whenever I live stream, you guys are more than welcome to ask. Any questions, traditional, digital, inking, penciling, any of the stuff that I know. Only thing I'm not efficient in yet is coloring. So coloring, unfortunately, I'm not comfortable enough to be able to share any tips or anything. I'm still learning myself. Inking, of course, I'm still learning inking too, as well. You never stop. But I've done this long enough. I've gotten comfortable enough that I'm at a point now where, I've learned a few things I can share with you guys, So, closer look at some of the line work. Sorry that my camera, I haven't learned how to flip it yet in this live stream software, but I will soon. So,
Alrighty. So here's the microphone with the better close up. We can chat a little bit. Let me see if I missed any questions. K-pop is here. Hey, K-pop, appreciate you being here. 31 Leo Korea says Chinese food in China is very different than Chinese food in the Western Hemisphere. Yeah, it's the same thing with Mexican food. You know, Mexican food here in the U.S. Because I live in Texas, so we call it Tex-Mex because it's very, very different. We have a few places here that have food that are very, very authentic to like a hamburger. We call it hamburguesas. You know, and an hamburguesa is they have them in Monterrey, which is Monterrey, Mexico, and it's a totally different type of recipe. And we have a few places that are pretty authentic here in Texas that have them, and they're very, very popular. So when you can find something very authentic, it's a totally different flavor. And that's also because of region, region where the soil, the ingredients are grown differently, foods prepared differently. A lot of elements go into it. It's for what the cow eats, based on that region, what foods are available there, changes the flavor in the meats, things like that. So whenever you try to remake something, it's tough to be authentic, even if you're sticking very close to the recipe and trying to prepare it the way it is, because a lot of it is based on that region. So it's pretty tough. Ali Adbadi says, I love some real Chinese food. Man, Chinese food. Yeah, I have my favorite place. Every time when it's my birthday, my family already knows. When they don't even ask me, they're just like, "We're taking you out for Chinese," and I go, "Yeah, you are." Chinese is just, it's really, I don't know. I don't know why I have such a, I could just eat it 24/7. K-pop junkie says, "Love me some India inks though." Yeah, the India inks. Sorry, the image is upside down up there. I have it right side up on my thing, so it on my desk. So it I guess I could leave it upside down for you guys, so that you guys are at least you're not looking at an image that's upside down on there. Oh, Katie Did's channel. Katie's here. Says, "Hi, hey Jimmy. Hey Katie, I appreciate that you stopped by. I don't know if you're still here or not, but I appreciate that you did stop by. And it's been a while, man. I haven't had a chance to really chat with everybody. Been really busy fulfilling the campaign for those that do want the black and white Dragonrage. I've sent out a lot. It turns out 90% of my backers want the black and white, and a small handful want to wait and want to get it in color. So those that want it in black and white have been reaching out, and it's quite a bit. So I fulfilled quite a bit so far. The Ardent Times with Jay Ryan says, "Do it. You can do it." Yeah. Working with with the quill and everything, again, I thought that I was going to forget, but I stopped inking for about, let's see, I think I stopped inking traditionally. I think Dave Finch was the last person I inked traditionally. And we stopped right before the pandemic. And what was that, 2019? And I stopped. So it's been about 4 or 5 years. And I picked up the quill. And to be completely honest, I was really nervous. And when I started inking, it was a little, I was rusty. But you don't forget how to ink. It was just getting the hand-eye coordination again. So I just, kept going, kept inking. And then I just said to myself, I'm not going to be nervous. I'm just going to ink over non-photo blue. So if I mess up, I mess up, and if it doesn't come out, it doesn't come out. And when I had that kind of attitude of, I wasn't trying to, worry about all the little things. I was just more of just trying to enjoy the ink, the process of inking. It came out better. And I think I've actually started to improve a little more. I've gotten easier and more confident, taking my eye away from inks it's not, I've been inking, but I was doing it digitally, and I was still looking at, of course, artwork and ink work from other inkers. But I just stopped doing it for a little while. And when I came back to it, I think that little break helped me out because of my worries and fears. I was able to let them go, and now I just ink, and I'm much more confident in my inks and comfortable now than I ever was before. So is stopping and inking, is it the best thing to do? I don't think. I think sometimes a break is okay. It'll help you, so that you let go some of that tension. A little breather, I think, helped me. But never really just completely being away from inks. Because then I could you could forget quite a bit too fast. The Art and Times with Jay Ryan. What nib are you using, Jimmy? Hunt 102 or G Pen? Yeah, I don't use the G Pen. I don't like that the G Pen is still, it's a bit thick on the lines, a bit stiff. I like the Hunt 102 because it'll allow me to get in some really fine little lines. And I can sculpt and shape lines much easier. The 102 is much more costly. It does cost more, but you get what you pay for. I love the Hunt 102, which is by Speedball now. It does cost money. There was a time where I would buy a box of them and they come with like little oils on them, or the way they were machined or something. The quality had declined for a while, but now the ones that I'm buying today, I honestly, going through my box of, what is it, 12 per box. Going through the first box right now, I haven't found one that I had any problem with. I just pop them right in, ink away, and or I just got better at it. Katie to the channel says, just driving and listening. Drive carefully, especially with the kiddos in the car. Be safe. And I won't say anything too crazy if people are listening with kids in the car. I don't know any kid stories. Although, speaking of kids, I did buy today. I went by. I love physical media and I love 4K movies. I buy everything 4K, and so I bought today. I found Beauty and the Beast, the classic animated cartoon. Anna loves the Beauty and the Beast. We both love Disney films, but me for a different reason. I love Disney because of the fact that it's cartoons and I can study from it. The way that the characters gesture and move. It helps me when I'm drawing characters in comic books. Because we're cartooning. And she just loves them, I think, because of stories and things. And I bought it today, and it was really nice. Dark Knight cometh. Dark Knight, Slim Jim. Yeah, I lost some weight. Losing weight, starting to focus more on eating healthy, trying to exercise more, but I haven't been exercising lately because fulfilling my campaign and stuff like that. And Past Master Dan, damn son, how much weight have you lost? Let's see. I used to weigh 177. I now weigh 128. And so at my height, I'm about 5'4" on a good day. Let's see. So I've lost quite a bit, at least 50 pounds more, So apparently I was obese. My doctor said to me, you are on the borderline of obesity. So that way you get more of me there in the frame. So at 5'3", 177, 178, around there at my peak. Apparently I was obese. I was right on the edge of obesity and I never thought of myself as being obese. I didn't even see myself as being overweight. And I thought, well, maybe I could lose like 10 pounds. But apparently my body mass index, my BMI, was right at the level where I needed to lose weight, especially for my heart and stuff like that. So I had to drop a lot of weight. And now I'm right. Now I'm right on the bottom of where if I lose 5 more pounds, then I'll be too light. I'll be just under. So I was at 130 135. I was sitting right at the middle of where I should be. Now I'm at 128. So I kind of a little too light. So I gotta start eating more Chinese food, right? Or maybe I should go back to Mexican food. I could gain a little more weight. Past Master Dan says, "What you got to promote, Jimmy? Can't find a current campaign." Yeah, the next campaign is Ethan Van Scaver has offered to do a cover for Dragonrage to help bring attention to Dragonrage and to help raise the additional funds that are needed to be able to reprint my comic book in color, because I went black and white, because it was either not produce a book, because I lost colorist, I lost money, in paying colorist. I sort of over promised. I wanted to do the things that the $100,000 campaigns were doing. I wanted to do custom mailer boxes. I wanted to add all these fancy. You'll see if you guys back the perk, you'll see when you get your stuff. It's high quality packaging. It's packaged very well. It's got labels. We got this custom tape, all kinds of great fun stuff. I want to make it fun for when you get this perk. I want you guys to look at it and go, "Oh my God, this is set up so well that it's fun to just receive it and open it." And I wanted that, but those are at the level when you're at $100,000 campaign, you can produce all that stuff. So I did that at my campaign closed at 23,000. So I tried to do it on a fraction of the budget, just a quarter of that, and put me at a really tight budget. So when I started losing money with colorists, that was it. I didn't have it. I lost the funds needed to hire a colorist. And I said, well, how can I need to deliver a book. This is, I have to salvage this somehow and save my campaign. And the only way for me to save it was to produce the book in black and white and to go with a cheaper printing and to do paper that didn't cost quite as much, because the cost of paper and printing had doubled. And I was going, oh my God, how can I still stay within budget and still deliver a quality project? So I went black and white thinking, well, that was the solution to save the book, save the project. I had no idea that anybody else would step in, because it wasn't their responsibility at all, and even now where Ethan has offered to do the cover and we can do a variant cover campaign to raise the additional funds, but he's busy right now doing, his own campaign, and so is everybody else. So I don't want people to feel obligated. I also don't, didn't want to, I wanted to try to do it all, within myself, because it was my responsibility. I'm the project lead. And so to me to figure out how to save the project and how to, to make the budget work. So I had done that, but now that he's offered, hopefully, he'll have the time soon and we can get a new campaign going very soon, because I would like to raise those additional funds to get the book colored and then to reprint the book. And then of course it's going to cost money, again, to, also fulfill and distribute the new variant cover as well, so hopefully we'll be soon. We'll be getting there. I know that he's very busy, and I don't like to go and like hound people and bother people. So we'll get him. Hopefully I know he'll do it. I mean, it's just a matter of, having the time. Rufus Precarious says, which titles is Dave working on at the moment? And are you going to show us the progress you made on that Golden Hour Dragonrage Splash page you are working on? Yeah, actually I have, I recolored it. I recolored where it's the Golden Hour, where the Golden Hour is as the sun is setting and it's about to go into darkness, or it's as the sun is rising and about to become light. That's the Golden Hour, right? As the sun is low. And so you kind of get this like golden hues and tones, kind of an orange and golden, colors. And I've colored it and thought, well, I really want to add more purples and pinks in there. I want to, really add different hues and values that are visually, interesting and appealing. I don't want to just do the standard, I want to make things very, very, just appealing to look at. And I don't want to do the same stuff everybody else has done. I mean, Dragonrage is, it's a different kind of concept, different kind of story, and I really want to do, I want everything, just the way the book is designed and laid out, to everything to be unique. And Dave is working on his own creator-owned book right now. He's got a creator-owned book that is going to come out through Skybound and Image, and he's working with a big name writer. I don't know if they've announced it or anything. I mean, I have the privilege of hearing just a little bit of details about it. Dave and I being friends, but even the fact that we're friends, I mean, he's still, Dave is still, if he's under contract, I mean, or anything. He's definitely somebody who sticks with that. So I'm limited on what I know about it, and I'm not sure what I can share about it, but it's a creator-owned book. It's a big name writer who is extremely talented. So and then I know that Dave has already shared this, so I can share this, where he's drawing on 2 11x17 boards together. So every single page of the book is like a double page spread, but it's not just big splash pages. He's just basically drawing double the size and adding in a lot of detail. So it's taken quite a while to do that. And then, of course, the writer, being extremely famous, very talented, is working on many other projects. So, they're putting it together, but I hear that it's down to the last couple of pages now. So it's pretty cool. And then the other stuff, Dave also does covers for like The Walking Dead and then a couple other stuff, which I don't know if it's been announced yet. So you'll be able to see some of that stuff very, very soon. And you'll be able to hear, I'll be able to share some news as well as some of the stuff that I get to work on. And pretty soon, hopefully, I'll have more information on all that stuff, or be able to share more on that. And for the colors, this is what I've got so far. So trying to, just to make things a little more visually appealing, I like really saturated colors, and I love vibrant colors, but yet when I color, I can't figure out how to get the saturated colors. My eye keeps going to desaturated colors. I'm used to seeing books of fantasy where everything's like so desaturated and watercolor looks and paintery look, that I keep creating that. So I'm trying to fight that and trying to do more vibrant, but this is where I'm at so far. I'm still rendering where you can kind of see on her, I made her a little more golden. I put all these different lights in her flesh tones. I hear flesh and flesh tone is like the hardest thing to color, but for me, it was just easier. I don't know why. Everything else is hard for me to color, but flesh tone it seems a little easier. With him, he's got some purples and some blues in there because he's reflecting, of course, the blood flowing in your body is blue, and when it hits oxygen, it oxidizes and turns it into a red. But in your skin tone, you're going to have like these bluish colors underneath, and then of course you reflect the environment. He's got greens and he's got purples up in the sky, so he's going to have that in him. She's got this copper light kind of coming through right over her shoulder, so we've got more of these golden copper colors. Just kind of still working on that, putting textures in the dragon scales and stuff like that. Just trying to really elevate the art with color and try to add in as much cool detail as I can with it. But I still want to be different. I don't want to recreate. I mean, I don't want to just mimic other stuff that's out there. I have my favorite comic books out there, but I don't really want to I don't want to make another Conan the Barbarian. There's already Conan, that's out there. And that's why when Conan went to a variation of Conan went to, public domain, I didn't jump at it. I'm a big Conan fan, but I didn't jump at creating my version of Conan. I would love to work on Conan, but I don't want to make my version of Conan. That's why when I made Dragonrage, I don't want to make Dragonrage just a copy of Conan or anything like that. I don't want it to be a copy of anything else. I want it to be its own unique IP, its own intellectual property, right? It's something totally different. And I want people to really get excited about it being something different. So from the way that the concept all the way through the design, everything, I want to make it unique. in the way that it's colored, the way the book's written, the way it's designed, the way it's drawn. I want everything to be, just interesting and to have its own style. So still playing with the colors. I need to take a break from trying to color for a little while so that I can come back and I'll be more relaxed when I approach it. Hopefully I won't have the same struggles, they won't. A lot of times we make mountains out of hills, right? Whenever we see we're struggling in something, we see a mountain, but really we're just struggling to get up a hill. And so if I step away for a minute, come back, get a new perspective on it, I realize that's not a mountain, that's a hill. I can get up it very quickly. So taking a break, going back and just honing my skills to this, right here, the inks, just doing more and more inking. Past Master Dan's got the link to Dave Finch's website, Dave Finch Art, and yeah, you can see a lot more Dave Finch art on there. Dave's huge, man. I mean, he did he worked on Batman, he worked on Avengers, X-Men. I mean, everything. He's had a great career. And sitting with him at the convention, I got to see people walk up to Dave and the admiration that they gave him. Fans, other aspiring artists, even professional artists. They all seem to admire and respect the work that Dave has done in the industry. I got to be there and watch Arthur Adams and hang out with Art, and it was the same thing for him. Just to see a veteran like Arthur Adams, have the respect of his peers, and then to see the same thing for Dave being a younger generation, and it was neat. I sat there and went, wow, these people really love him. They love his work, and someday I'm hoping people are going to go, the same thing about my inks. We love your work, Jimmy. Or Dragonrage. Wow, Dragonrage was incredible. Stuff like that. Comic books. As an inker, are you allowed to fix the penciler's big mistakes like anatomy, perspective, etc.? Yes and no. This is a really, really great question. Because that's something really that as far as the etiquette goes, you have to keep in mind that artists, we are all very protective of our work. Not everybody's sensitive with the personality, but we are pretty sensitive to our work because we're proud of it. It means a lot to us. So as an inker, if you don't know the penciler and you just go in and change the penciler's art without asking them, you could offend them. And a lot of times as an inker, you're getting work because of that penciler, because the penciler may or may not have the say of, to choose who inks their work, or may be able to speak up to the editor and say, well, I'm not happy with what this inker is doing. So before you ever change anything, you may want to, shoot an email to the penciler if you have access to the penciler to ask them. Sometimes we think we're fixing the artwork. Art's subjective. Sometimes we think, oh, we're fixing it. It should be this way. And then later we learn that no, we in fact didn't fix it. We just changed it. So it's a fine line. So you got to be very careful. So it's always build that relationship with the penciler first. And I think slight subtleties in the art, changing that you can get away with. I don't think anybody even remembers, or notices it, but yeah, I wouldn't go back and redraw big mistakes or anything like that. The mistake is the penciler's mistake. Your job is to, finish the art, be a finisher with it. And it's up to the penciler to learn and hone their skills on their own. You can't hold their hand. You can't be their art teacher. So, we do our job. We try to improve it as much as we can without going back and redrawing anything or changing anything too much. But there's slight little areas where you can kind of shift and adjust little things, and they do help. But, I guess the simple answer is always check with your penciler first. Because, that could lead to drama. Into Paints, Jimmy can't see chat. He needs his go-go gadget lens. Yeah, when I sit over there, it's really far away. I don't have an iPad yet. I want to get an iPad. I want to be able to put it over here because then I can use what's called on a Mac. It's called it's not called a wheelchair. It's called a side cart. So on Macs you have a side cart, which means I could send that I can send the I can use it as a secondary or a third monitor, because I have 2 monitors. So because I have a Cintiq, so I could put that over there, and that'll be my third monitor, and I can put the chat over there. I can actually be over there and highlight the chat and everything. So eventually, right now, I mean, that's not in my budget, unless you guys want a super chat, you know. But yeah, right now it's not in my budget. So eventually I will, and eventually, you know, that'll be the goal, is to get that set up really nice and complete, where, you know, you guys can see things. I want to be able to flip the image, so as I'm inking, you guys can see this. I haven't found a software. Today I spent about $20 trying to find software that just couldn't flip and rotate the image, and it was a waste of money. So I was like, and so yeah, so our art and times of Jay Ryan here, he's answering the question as well. He's saying inkers add definition, light, and shadow. It's not really their job to fix the penciler's art. So that's a really good answer. Pizza 33 is here, so appreciate that you're here. And Jimmy always makes me want to draw in his streams. Haha. You know, thanks, man. That's the way it should be. You know, we should get inspired whenever we watch artwork or we watch live streams, you know, like that should be the thing. You know, we should get really inspired. I'm somebody who, you know, if I were to say, well, I don't like watching the drama streams that are in the comic book industry, if I say that, then I'm really lacking self-awareness, because honestly, I think a lot of us really do like watching the drama. We just, you know, a lot of us just lack self-awareness. We're just, you know, if we really look within, we go, I'm watching this because I like it, or I'm enjoying it too much. And so for me, I really just try to cut back on that stuff. And I go, well, I have a limited time in the day. I could be spending that watching the drama, playing a video game, watching movies, or honing my craft, because I let, you know, 10 years go by. I had to step out of the industry for a while because I was recovering from heart failure. So I stopped inking comic books in 2007. I didn't return until 2016, and I lost, you know, years there. So, and, you know, about almost 10 years. And so, I wish that I had stayed inking that time. Imagine how good I'd be right now, you know, had I been inking every day. So I realize now I don't have the time to waste. I'm going to be 50. So I don't have any hours to waste. So, you know, if you don't see me on other live streams and things like that, it's because, you know, I have got to be working on my craft and my skill, you know. And if I'm not on other live streams, that means I'm working, you know, because I have very, very little time. And then, of course, I have a wife, you know, and I've got family. So I've got to be able to spend time with them. So it's pretty tough to be able to, you know, balance that time. But we have got to devote time to our craft. We have to, in order to grow and get better. Otherwise, you don't. You can read all the textbooks, watch all the videos, but if you're not applying that knowledge, you're not going to improve your talent and skill. You know, it's like you could watch all the workout videos you want, but if you're not out there, you know, because scientists believe just thinking about working out is beneficial to your body. Just thinking about it is beneficial to your body. But think about, you know, how much more beneficial the actual workout is. Getting out there doing cardio or the weight training. That's how you're going to build muscle, right? And do that. So it's the same thing with artwork. You have got to apply whatever you've learned. And K-Pop says, whoa, this is a family show, Jay. Uh-oh, what did Jay say? I don't know. He's saying something there. And Past Master Dance is projecting my thoughts into Jimmy's head. That was it. That was what happened to me. I just like sat there one minute and was like, huh? Oh, hey, I got this idea in my head. That's what you guys are doing. You guys, I see it. I see you guys I'm your puppets. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna get rolling here, and I gotta get up and walk. I'm not rolling. I mean, thank God I'm not on a wheelchair. And I'm not, no disrespect to those if you are or anything. I'm just saying, you know, there was a time where I was on a wheelchair for a while because, you know, I had, you know, heart failure patient. I had the wheelchair and I had the tank of oxygen because it was tough to breathe and I would get fatigued. So when I'd go out, I'd have to be on a wheelchair with a little tank of oxygen. And boy, I'm so grateful that I can live a fairly normal life now. You know, a lot of medications, but hey, you know, I can still run fairly good amount of time. I can walk, you know, So I'm grateful. Pizza 33 says, I use Sakura Pigma. I have never used Quill. Is it to me? You know, Pigmas in a way, you could still sculpt your line with the Pigma, but a Pigma will give you a dead line very, very often in the time. They don't really give you quite as interesting as a line. And no disrespect at all to Shelby Robertson. He uses Pigmas and he inks and he gets really interesting lines. So he shows you, you can watch him with a Pigma. If you want to stay with Pigma, he's somebody I'd recommend to watch. He's able to sculpt and really make those Pigma lines come to life. He really gives them a lot of character and a lot of life to them. And as I watch him ink, I watch that there is more work involved in that. Where with the quill, it does take more time to learn to master, to get to. But once you get to it, you can throw down and sculpt these lines much faster than you could with the Pigmas. And then of course, there's brush that can allow you to even throw lines even faster than a quill. So it's just, there's a variety out there with them. But the one thing I will say with the Sakura Pigmas, those multi-liners, is the type of ink. I love the Kohinoor ink. It's a really nice black ink, very, very opaque, and it's really very low reflective. So if you have a shine light above you, I have an LED light to try to reduce the type of reflection, and I get very low reflection. So as I'm working, I can see the art pretty clearly. I don't have to worry about it. Genuine Comics is here, so I appreciate that you're here. You guys are great. And Phil is here. He says, I can see why you would think that. I got my friends in here now, and that's just where I find them. So I missed the context to that, but I appreciate that you're here, man. That's awesome. Paulus Arts. Appreciate that. And we got Cross Contour says, I looked at Liefeld portfolio about 8 years ago and noticed he inked all the faces for every comic he did. Yeah, that's a bit sad. I think maybe Mickey. I think he allowed Mickey, because Mickey's really good too at inking faces. And that's one of the things I concentrate on, is I learn how to draw faces. It's one of the things I really wanted to focus on, especially this year. I've learned to improve how to draw the way I draw faces, so that I want to make sure I spend more time the faces, because that's what we look at. We're humans. Even though it's an illustration, we will look at the face, and that gives them character, especially eyes. The one thing that I'm not taking a shot at Rob Liefeld or anything, but the one thing that a lot of, even though he's inking his own faces, is that he wouldn't draw the pupils in the eyes. And that takes the life of the character away. Pupils are a great way. We think we feel that a pupil, when we see it, that's the gateway to the soul, right? Oftentimes we feel we get an emotional response by the way that somebody looks at us. If somebody looks at us a certain way, we feel happy. If somebody looks at us a different way, we can feel threatened or unhappy with it, right? Just by their eyes. That's a big way to communicate. So try to always draw pupils and eyes in every one of your characters. Of course, when you can't, Batman when he has his cape and cowl, he doesn't, his mask and all that covers up, his pupils, to deaden the character, to be ghost-like, right? To be face, lifeless. And that's what he would use to drive fear in his enemies or something, just to almost seem ghost-like. And so if you whiten out the eyes, which Rob Liefeld did a lot in his books, either he forgot or just figured it was just faster not to draw them in there, made them feel lifeless. So I concentrate now where I want to add pupils in there and learn how to ink it and learn how to add all the detail. And then by adding on these little magnifying little reading glasses, I can really get in there and focus in on the little details all around the faces. Because when I'm digital, I can get in there and put in all those cool little details around the eyes and really accentuate the eyes, and that brings life to the art. And I want to be able to kind of mimic that with traditional. So that's what this is for. And so I'm going to get rolling. I appreciate that you guys are all here. If I missed you guys in the chat, I apologize. You guys are great, and I appreciate that you guys are here watching me as I work. Carbon Dioxide says, Speedball Super Black is nice. Yeah, there's some people that will mix the two. If you guys know Joe Weems, Joe Weems from Top Cow. He worked at Top Cow a long time. He was inker over Mark Silvestri. He's also worked with Dave, and he would mix about a third of Speedball Super Black ink, and then he would mix the rest with Konor ink, the Ultra ink, and he would let it sit, for a little while, kind of the two inks to blend together, and then he would ink with it, and his inks were, pretty solid black. But I don't like, I don't want. I'm not a chemist, when it comes to inking. I just want to ink, and so I ink with Konor. It's like just quick, fast. But that's one way you could do as well, to get a really opaque, just black ink. It's one way you could try that. All right, well, I'll see you guys. You guys are great, and I'll catch you guys again on the next stream. I'll be streaming again, hopefully tomorrow during the day, and just doing some more inks. If I'm not streaming, that means I got in some artwork that I'm scheduled to be inking. It means it will have arrived, and that's work I can't show. So, but I'll tape it, and you guys, I'll be able to do a time lapse video of it later. And whenever that artwork is finally released, I'll do maybe a time lapse, and you guys can watch me ink, or maybe I'll just show segments of it in real time or something like that. So I'll tape it, so that way you guys can see me inking this work, and then hopefully you guys go out and go to your local comic store and buy the cover or artwork of, whatever it is, and compare the two and say, whoa, I can watch the process of how this was made. All right, I'll see you guys. Thanks a lot. You guys take it easy.